hearts, Nick Dixon. Yeah, someone paid me to say that. I don't really believe it. I think you're a deeply evil man.
Oh, yeah. Lewis Schaefer. I've got props tonight. I've been given, our senior producer, Martin, has given me the Andrew Tate Award for henchest male. How about that?
Well,
some context for that.
There's no context. He just wanted to give me, he just wanted to honour my work.
Well, I think you should take your shirt off now so we can all judge.
Oh.
I can't do that, but I'll send you the pics later.
OK. This has got very strange very quickly, but let's have a look at those front pages. So Thursday's Daily Mail is running with Green Power firm taking us for fools. The Telegraph has a minister faces police inquiry over racist leaflet. The Times, get on your delivery bike, minister tells the over 50s. Bit harsh. Guardian has Trump court date sets US on course for election clash. And the Daily Mail leads with Rishi, NHS strikes are to blame for waiting lists. And the Daily Star, the proof is out there, their usual alien nonsense. And those were your front pages. So we're going to kick off with the front of the Telegraph. Who's got this one?
That's me. Minister faces police inquiry over racist leaflet. So David Davis, the Welsh Secretary, he's been campaigning over a new proposed traveller site in his constituency. And as always with these things, there's been some resistance. But he's put out a leaflet referring to a gypsy camp, and people don't like that. So
I noticed in the headline, when it talks about the racist leaflet, it puts racist in quotation marks.
Right.
So there's obviously some sort of debate, some dispute about whether or not the leaflet is racist. What is it in the leaflet that has upset people precisely?
I think it's the word racist, the word gypsy, isn't it?
Yeah, it says gypsy and traveller site coming to your area soon with an exclamation mark. I think the exclamation mark is quite clever. It's making it sound like it's a positive. Yeah. And it's not necessarily meant as a positive. And that's
is the word gypsy considered a racist term? Because I've heard people use it as a descriptive term. Some people quite reputable. I suppose it depends how you say it.
I think that's, yes,
is that what it
very
is?
much. And the people that say it of their own community, that's fine, isn't it? People that put an O on the end of the first syllable, not so much.
You're sort of part of the traveller community.
I knew that was I knew you were going to say that.
In a broader sense, you travel around on your...
Goodness.
If you live on a boat, you can travel. You have the facility. You are a nomad.
You rock up in someone's neighbourhood.
I've got no address. I am a gypsy of the canals. That's how I identify.
Is the word nomad better? Is that considered less offensive? I'm just trying to find a less offensive alternative.
It depends who's saying it and the tone, doesn't it? Yeah, I have a nomadic lifestyle.
Yes.
At the moment.
Does your boat move?
Yes.
Well, there we go.
It does.
Yeah. So you are a traveller. Technically, you are a traveller.
But I don't think the leaflet's aimed at me.
Is it not? OK.
No.
So what do you think he should do then at this point? I mean, there's an actual police inquiry over this, and some people are sort of suggesting, is this really the best use of police time?
Well, exactly. Apparently, it's potentially a non-crime hate incident. I thought, oh God, are we still doing this?
No, they've gone, haven't they?
I thought we'd moved on from that.
Oh, they're back.
Yeah.
Oh, blimey. OK, well, look, we'll move on now to the front cover of The Times. Nick, what are they leading with on Thursday?
OK, yeah, they've got get on your delivery bike, minister tells the over 50s. This is Mel Stride, pensions and work secretary, work and pensions if you prefer. And he's saying that if you're over 50, you can do things like a delivery job because they're offering flexibility. I think he means the hours, not the physical flexibility, which will also be required.
It's both, isn't it?
It's both. If you're over 50 on a bike, yes, I imagine it is both. And apparently it's been a 62% increase in riders over 50 with Deliveroo since 2021. So people are doing it because you retired, basically. Then you go, whoops, I retired during COVID. I don't have as much money as I thought. And you have to literally get on your bike.
But over 50, I mean, that's not exactly old, is it? That's not retirement age.
No, that's Lewis Schaefer sort of it. He could get on a bike.
Imagine Lewis Schaefer turning up at your house with a pizza.
That is quite terrifying.
You shouldn't eat it.
Yeah,
he'll tell you it's full of carbs and that you've got diabetes.
It'll be freezing by the time you've got a chance to eat it. Yeah.
So, is there anything more to add to this one, Cressida? Are you outraged?
I think it's a good idea.
That's a good idea.
I think it's good to do something physical and outdoors, isn't it?
Yes, I'm going to start moonlighting for Deliveroo. I think I will.
You're not there yet.
No, I'm not there yet, but, you know, I could do with the money.
Okay.
Anyway, we're going to move on to the front cover of the Daily Mail. Cressida, what are they going with?
They have got a Harry and Meghan story. Will Harry and Meghan's loved-up video silence the gossip?
OK, what's happening here? What video is this exactly?
Well, apparently it's a video of them getting on. You've watched it, haven't you?
I've watched it, so you didn't have to.
What is it?
It's a typical promotional fluff, empowerment nonsense piece. Someone calls in I actually don't. It was so boring. I watched it 5 minutes ago. Someone calls in to say thank you for this new scheme, and they say, "Oh, we're all empowered." But that's my
Why does it describe it as a loved-up video?
Yeah,
What's going on?
Because in the video they're sort of like because there's been rumours about their marriage.
Yes.
Just the idea of them together in a video getting on is seen as a kind of PR stunt. So it's not just about that, but the very fact that they're not shouting at each other.
It's very difficult to trust a lot of the things that they put out there because, you know, in the film, the documentary, which I haven't watched, but I'm told that it's full of sort of really intimate, like, text messages they've sent to each other and photographs of them in, you know, they don't mind putting everything out there, do they?
I watched a tiny snippet where she was mocking having to bow.
Oh, yes, I saw that snippet.
She's got that wrong.
Yeah, and that didn't go down well.
Very misjudged. So I'm judging her on a tiny amount of footage.
Yeah, well, that seems appropriate. We're going to move on now to the front cover of The Star. And, Nick, of course, The Star... They seem obsessed with aliens at the moment, the Daily Star. Every day there's an alien story.
I love that we've skipped Justin Trudeau's marriage to go to the Daily Star's typical alien story. So they've gone with the proof is out there, which is a kind of pun, Andrew. If you remember the X-Files, it was the truth is out there.
Oh, so yes, that's what they... I didn't get that, actually.
Well, so I've explained it. Yeah, this is why I'm here.
OK.
And the world's #1 boffin, but I haven't been able to find out more detail on who this actual boffin is. But he said that the world's #1 space scientist has vowed to show Daily Star readers, I don't know why they're getting first preference, definitive evidence of aliens within a month. So they're going to get it first.
The Daily Star are not going to get this first. I mean, they had these conversations at Congress, didn't they, where the Republicans and the Democrats were both involved, talking about how there is, what was it, biologics or non-human corpses, effectively, in some hangar somewhere. Why they would link that to the Daily Star as their first port of call, I find that unlikely, if I'm honest.
I do think the Daily Star are keen, though. They're mad, aren't they?
They are keen. They want there to be aliens.
Yeah, they'd be camping out like people that camp out for Cliff Richard tickets the night. They want
OK, well, since we skipped it, I'm going to ask you about Justin Trudeau's marriage, which is on the front cover of the Daily Telegraph and the Times, I believe.
Yes, Justin Trudeau announced his separation from wife after 18 years. So they're going their separate ways. They've released this statement that says they remain a close family with deep love and respect for each other and for everything they've built and continue to build. And apparently they're going on holiday together with all their kids soon. I mean, that sounds relaxing.
No, that's just because they've booked it in advance and they won't get the money back if they, you know, it's just a financial thing, I would have thought.
Okay.
Some of these websites won't give you refunds. So you have to go on the holiday. But in the article, it talks about how there are rumours about extramarital affairs because he wrote a book where he talked about something and someone asked him, is that code for an extramarital affair? He says no.
He did say no.
He says no.
Yeah, he says no. I'm not sure what we're legally allowed to say, but apparently he's denied it. But imagine having to go on holiday with Justin Trudeau and you're not even married to him anymore. I think that's even worse. See, I noticed that Jordan Peterson, who hates Trudeau probably more than anyone on earth, said condolences. He said divorce is horrible. So that was nice.
OK, that's good.
Yeah, because it's not a great thing. Even though Trudeau is awful in basically all ways, it's not a good thing when anyone gets divorced. And it also, aside from the personal aspect, it also weakens marriage as an institution. If you know, after 18 years, you still can't.
Well, we don't know what's going on in that marriage. We know absolutely nothing about it. I'm assuming it's because of the blackface. You know, because you can't stay with someone who keeps doing that, can you? It's embarrassing. That's my view, anyway. OK.
Fair.
Well, that's the front pages out of the way. So after the break, we're going to be talking about the fall of a pop giant, Lizzo, more bank shenanigans, and how not to fake your own death. See you in a moment.
What you get for breakfast is something that, if we do our jobs right, you will wake up to news that you didn't know the night before.
It's a conversation. It's not just me and Eamon.
We want to get to know you, and we want you to get to know us.
From 6, it's Breakfast with Eamon and Isabel.
Monday to Thursdays on GBNews,
Britain's news channel.
Westminster is going around in ever-decreasing circles, followed by the media. Britain is broken. How on earth did we get into this mess? But more importantly, how do we get out of it? Join me at 7 p.m, Mondays to Thursdays on Farage, here on GB News. We will have open, rational debate. We've got to work out how Britain moves forward from this. Join us here on GB News, the People's Channel. Britain is watching.
When the news happens, it happens here.
And really important breaking news.
Breaking news this morning.
On TV, radio and online, the news starts here on Britain's Newsroom.
All the biggest stories and the answers that you need from across the UK and beyond.
Join Britain's Newsroom from 9:30 on GB News.
The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Patrick Christie's, Monday to Friday, 3 till 6. We tackle the day's news agenda like you've never seen before. It's high tempo, high octane, the most controversial topics, and the best guests. You will not be able to take your eyes and ears off it. I'm not afraid to ask the questions that you really want answered. 3 till 6 p.m, Monday to Friday on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
People in Britain, they love free speech, but they also love fair play.
I don't care if I'm speaking somebody from a trade union, from the Labour Party, somebody from the SNP. And I think the viewers like to see that actually we can challenge one another, but in a positive way.
We think we ask the questions that people want to ask, and often we ask the questions that we wanted to ask in Parliament but never got the chance to ask.
So join us every Saturday, 10 a.m. till noon on GB News,
Britain's news channel.
It's all about family, being in people's living rooms, all the interaction and getting to know who our viewers and listeners are.
When I was young, my dad used to say, no, stop arguing. I wanted an outlet that would enable me to give my opinion.
People are going through a really hard time right now, and I know that you don't feel like you're being listened to by the establishment. I came to GB News because it's the People's Channel, and I want the audience to have their say on the events of the day.
We're dynamic. We do something different.
Democracy shows that the wisdom of the nation is in its people.
I get to travel to find out what the story is from a personal perspective.
The British people aren't fools. We know when we're not being told the full story.
We've got to work out how Britain moves forward from this.
It's the best country in the world.
The establishment had their chance. Now we're here to represent your views.
Britain's watching.
Britain's watching.
Britain's watching.
We're proud to be GB News,
the People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
Welcome back to Headliners, your first look at Thursday's newspapers with me, Andrew Doyle, and Cressida Wetton, and the henchest man at GB News, Nick Dixon.
Official.
Let's kick off with this from The Telegraph, a slight visa problem, Cressida.
More than 100,000 Ukrainians face being kicked out of Britain in 2025. So lots of Ukrainians came over because of the war, and they were granted a sort of special, bespoke 3-year visa that's coming to an end. So the Tory MPs are demanding clarity, because obviously for people who don't know where they're going to live, that's a nightmare.
Were they just envisaging that the war wouldn't last 3 years?
Well, it's a good question, isn't it? I mean, can't they just renew it, was my first thought.
Well, that would be the obvious.
They're talking about making it so they're almost kind of like permanent residences. It turns out about half of them would like to stay.
OK.
Because Ukraine's going to be in a bit of a state when they go back, isn't it?
For quite a long time, I would have thought.
It will
and,
be,
of course, the war isn't over. So, Nick,
almost...
it's a bit of a mess-up, isn't it, this one?
Yeah, I mean, they want a further bespoke response, which is a weird way of saying it, and it's a higher degree of certainty, but not total citizenship, but more certain than they've got now, but not real full citizens.
That's nice and clear.
Yeah. I mean, look, I would put immigration at 0, as you know, but if I was going to let anyone in, I guess it would be the Ukrainians. They're Christians. They're probably going to be quite grateful.
People fleeing war,
exactly.
You know, that seems like a fair... thing to, you know,
but it does seem a bit naive when they say things like, oh, it's making it very difficult for people to plan. It's like, yeah, war will do that.
It does, doesn't it? OK, well, we're going to move on now to The Times. Yet more banks acting as moral arbiters, Nick. They'll never learn, will they?
I know. It's Monzo Bank denied Jeremy Hunt an account as staff called Tories evil. So they said things like, the staff at Monzo, that Jacob Rees-Mogg, Sir Jacob Rees-Mogg, could do the human race a favour by leaving politics. And they also called J.K. Rowling vile, a senior manager, shockingly.
Now, this was on what they call a Slack forum, which are these internal discussion forums, which all the Slack forums at Twitter got them in a lot of trouble when they were leaked.
Yeah. Maybe delete Slack is a good note for banks,
Or just text your friend, or just say it through the air.
Because they're actually communicating on official company channels, right? So obviously this stuff can be retrieved. You know, Monzo sounds like a bank for Muppets anyway, doesn't it? It's the Muppet Bank, right? It sounds made up. Sounds like I run it. You know, it just sounds stupid. So, but the thing is, they're talking about what happened. I think the worry about this kind of stuff is they're talking about J.K. Rowling being vile and Jacob Rees-Mogg, and they're slagging off Brexit vote and all the rest of it, OK? These are the sort of high-status, fashionable opinions. Yes. And, of course, a lot of people who are working for this bank won't share those opinions. What they'll do is they'll just shut up and learn to keep quiet, right? It's not the... You know, it's these people are the loudest, the most vociferous.
To be very fair to Monzo, they're claiming that these are cherry-picked comments from a handful of employees and just their personal views. But I was shocked that a senior manager said that the Tories are evidently swaying towards arguments put forward by TERFs. I kind of expect a lot of institutions and companies to have trendy anti-Tory views. That's very mainstream. But to be calling J.K. Rowling vile and talking about TERFs is pretty extreme stuff. To be fair to Sir Jacob Rees-Mogg, he has said that it's free speech as long as it doesn't influence anyone closing anyone's bank account.
Yes.
So he's been very fair about it.
It's not appropriate for the workplace.
That's my concern. Is that what it does is it sort of communicates to the staff, you better have the right point of view if you want to get on in this company. I think it's not good for the people working there more than anything. OK, we're going to move on to Thursday's Times next. Is this a case of mistaken identity or someone truly committed to a lie, Cressida?
Nicholas Rossi, rape suspect who faked his own death, can be extradited to US. So this guy, 36, is wanted by authorities in Utah for allegedly raping a woman in 2008. So after this happened, he started to circulate reports of his own death. He put out a rumour about himself that he had cancer, came over here, I believe he's now living in Scotland. And then in 2020... Oh, here he is.
There's the video of him. And he's made an effort to look ill. I'll give him that. He does look...
Well, apparently he's had cancer, and it's COVID, and when he was in a COVID coma, and that's when he got arrested.
Right.
But that's also when he claims to have been covered in tattoos. So his tattoos are much like the guy...
Oh, Eric's trying to stand up. Oh.
Not to be. He woke up and said he was shocked to find he'd been covered in tattoos that resembled those of an American fugitive who faked his own death. So he's claiming that... I mean, that is... Who put the tattoos there and why?
He doesn't look convincing anyway. The way he stumbled there, that looks like... That's very bad acting.
He pretended to be in a wheelchair, but the doctor said that he was completely fine and had strong athletic legs. He pretended to be Jewish. How does he have a wife? This is what I want to know. There's so many single men out there struggling. And this guy, who's faked his own death, pretends to be in a wheelchair. He's got a devoted wife.
How do people think you can fake your own
can't
death?
Make it work.
You can't. These days with the internet, you can't fake your own death. It's not like the days of Elvis when he did it.
And this is what he's finding out, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. OK, right. We're going to move on to The Telegraph now. Who is Lizzo, Nick?
Lizzo, Andrew, is a popular recording artist.
Right, OK.
You're not familiar with
What's her surname? What's Lizzo's surname?
Smith.
Smith. Lizzo Smith, OK.
She's a great recording artist, and she's been accused of sexual harassment and fat-shaming by former dancers. And there are some words I can't say, but basically there's been a lot of claims, which, I said those ones. They're the ones I'm allowed to say. But there are other ones I can't say anyway. But they've been accused of all sorts of things that I can't say. Some of them involve bananas. And
it's on the right.
And there was also someone who was a member of her dance squad who slammed workers who had had sex before marriage. So that part I approve of. But the rest of it sounds like it was a pretty toxic workplace, to say the least.
OK. I mean, that's her, is it?
Yeah, and they even shamed someone for putting on weight, which was quite ironic, given she's the kind of poster
She's a body positivity person, right?
Yeah.
And she's obviously a large lady.
How dare you?
Don't you think, though, that this tells us that she's not really happy? Is this
well,
a
clearly.
case of, like, we all know. I think she goes home at night and cries herself to sleep like everybody else. What a vicious way to behave, if it's true.
If it's true, we should emphasise that. OK, moving on to The Times now. Is Trump onto something with this headline? What's going on?
Yeah, so it's Donald Trump indicted, and I have more support than ever before, says ex-president, and he probably does. I mean, they've made Trump more powerful than they can possibly imagine, much like Obi-Wan Kenobi, because in the short term, maybe he'll end up in prison, but in the long term, I think he becomes a martyr. So, as you know, they've already indicted him a few times, and this one concerns the January 6th stuff. And whereas other times you go, OK, he does seem... perhaps he has mishandled classified documents and shown things to people that he shouldn't, and there may be something there. This, to me, doesn't seem like there is much there. There's this idea that he's created a national atmosphere of mistrust and anger and eroding public faith in the administration of the election.
Well, that's not sufficient, is it? I mean, I think we could all agree he raised the temperature at the time of the January 6 riots. But you would need something quite specific to say that he had either incited it or had played a part in it. Have they got that? Is that what they're saying?
I don't understand. And I've been listening to both sides, and they all sound absolutely convinced that they're right, and there's no question.
Yes.
But all we do know is that 54% of the people that could vote for him, of the Republicans are behind him, and only 17 behind DeSantis. So he's...
Oh, no, he's got it over DeSantis, absolutely.
So he's such a threat, isn't he?
But this would be absolutely crazy if he actually runs for president from a prison cell.
Yeah.
We thought this world of politics couldn't get any more surreal. That's about as surreal as it gets.
Isn't it?
Yeah.
It's the most entertaining outcome, to quote Elon Musk.
Yes.
Yeah, but there's also further irony that they're accusing him of undermining faith in the election.
Yes.
But they're so scared about facing him in a fair election that they're prepared to put him in jail. Does that not...
Is that what you think this is?
Well...
I mean, it certainly plays that way, doesn't it? And that's the
one way of doing it.
I mean, that's the way he's going to pitch it on his Truth Social account.
Absolutely.
He spends all his time talking about how he's the victim of corruption and the weaponisation of the judiciary. And then this happens, and irrespective of whether or not that's true, that's certainly the way his fans will see it.
Absolutely.
It is almost giving them a lot of ammunition.
And not just his fans who will back him anyway, but other people who are undecided or in the middle who just say, hang on, you know, even like Vivek, who's running against him, has said, like, I'm running against him, but I think this is wrong. It's just whether this is the right thing to do. It doesn't seem great to beat someone in an election, which some people think was questionable, even with mail-in ballots and so on, and then you put your opponent in jail. It just doesn't...
So it could be a gift to Donald Trump. Well, we'll find out, won't we? Very exciting. On to The Guardian and one of my favourite subjects, the credit ratings of nation-states. I could talk about this for hours.
Absolutely. Erosion of governance led Fitch to downgrade US credit rating. So, essentially, all this crazy being on the edge of civil war is bad for the markets.
Is that right?
That's how
Who'd have thought that?
would put it. Yeah, they just give a bunch of statistics about markets going down. So Richard Francis, the senior director at Fitch Ratings, told Reuters that the agency based its decision in part on the perceived deterioration in US governance. No, it doesn't look good.
No, it doesn't.
If you look like you're falling apart, then...
Nick?
Yeah. No, sorry, but The Guardian typically is saying that it's Donald Trump's attempt to overturn the 2020 election is what's caused it. But if you look further into the article, it's actually a general erosion over the last 20 years, a steady deterioration in standards of governance is what they're citing.
Yeah, so, you know, everyone's spinning everything to their political ends at the moment. That seems to be the thing. Well, riveting stuff, but coming up, bad news for risk-averse obese people, why having daughters is crushingly disappointing, and roads still won't fall. See you there.
That warm feeling inside. From Boxed Boilers. Proud sponsors of weather on GBNews.
Hello there, and welcome to your latest GB News weather forecast. I'm Greg Dewhurst. Well, it stays unsettled over the next few days, though there will be increasing amounts of sunny spells around on Thursday. It'll just feel a little warmer. Today's low pressure moves out the way. We're in a northerly airstream the next few days, but then the next area of low pressure soon moving in Friday night and into Saturday to give some wet and windy weather again for all of us. This evening, as I mentioned, today's low pulling away, so the rain's starting to become lighter, few and further between, but overnight it stays generally quite cloudy. Further showers moving in across northern Scotland into Northern Ireland, and temperatures generally staying in double figures across the board due to that northerly wind and a lot of cloud around. So fairly cloudy start to Thursday morning, but there will be some sunny spells, particularly through the central part of the UK. And through the day, this northerly flow will start to feed showers in, and at the same time we'll see some showers bubble up as we move into the afternoon. There will be some bright or sunny spells, and some places, particularly in the east, will stay dry right through the day. And as a result, it'll just feel a little warmer, temperatures up to around 23 degrees towards the southeast, a little bit cooler around some north-facing coasts. Into Friday itself, generally again a cloudy start, though showers perhaps more focused through the day across eastern areas. A ridge of high pressure building in for a short time will mean drier weather to the west, and here some sunny spells developing. Temperatures again lifting into the low 20s before wet and windy weather moves in for Saturday, then clears for Sunday. Temperatures around average.
That warm feeling inside. From Boxed Boilers. Proud sponsors of weather on GBNews.
The Live Desk with me, Mark Longhurst.
And me, Pip Thompson. It's here Monday to Friday on GB News.
From midday, we'll bring you the news as it breaks, whenever it's happening and wherever it's happening, from across the UK and around the world.
Refreshing, feisty, but with a bit of fun too.
If it matters to you, we'll have it covered on TV, radio and online.
Join the Live Desk on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
So Jubes & Co, we tackle the issues of the day with real robust debate, both sides of the fence, battling it out with me in the middle with my forthright opinions and views. And often really interesting things happen because you start with a position and then by the end of the debate you find actually, well, I might not have thought about that one.
What we need in this country is 2 new political parties.
You should maybe think about doing a 2024 calendar. I'm Michelle Dewberry and I'm keeping you company right through until 7 o'clock this evening.
GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's watching.
Monday to Thursday, 9 p.m. till 11 p.m. Join me, Dan Wootton. I'll bring you the sharpest takes and hottest debates. Do you not believe in prison?
I don't believe in prisons.
I'm completely stunned. I guarantee you there'll be no spin, no bias, no censorship.
I actually was personally quite offended by it.
And no reason to go to bed. So I guess they've always been quite woke. That's Dan Wootton tonight on TV, radio and online. Monday to Thursday from 9 p.m. till 11 p.m. on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
In a world of dull and predictable radio and TV shows.
Oh, hi. On Mark Dolan tonight, we've got big guests. We drill into the big stories of the day. The show adds up to a brilliant listening and viewing experience. Mark Dolan Tonight is the most entertaining current affairs show ever, and that's a fact. That's Mark Dolan Tonight, Friday, Saturday and Sunday from 9. Only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Like all families, we have arguments every now and then, but actually we agree on what the mission of GB News is, and that's the most fundamentally important thing.
GB News provides the kind of platform that lets all voices be heard.
We don't hold back. We're free to say what we really think. Just because some people who live in a tiny little Westminster bubble think that their particular story is important, that's not the most important story for me.
And often there will be difficult stories, stories that you won't find on the establishment media.
Because what people think in the north of England may be very different to what they're thinking in the home counties.
We're going to carry on telling the world what life is really like for households up and down the UK.
We love to be in your car, in your kitchen as you're having your breakfast. Whatever you're doing, you are part of the show. If it matters to you, it matters to us.
Britain's watching.
Britain's watching.
Britain's watching.
We're proud to be GB News.
The People's Channel.
Britain's news channel.
Welcome back to Headliners, your first look at Thursday's newspapers. We're going to go straight to the Telegraph. Insurance, Nick, do you have it?
Not really, but this is... I think I've got content interest, but this is about more than 1 million people too fat to insure.
Too fat?
I'm sure I could get it, Andrew, because, as you know, I've got the most hench award.
The hench award.
So, you know...
Oh, no, you're very svelte at the moment.
This is actually a problem for me, because it's about BMI, and famously, BMI is high if you're muscly. So
that's body mass index,
yes,
right?
And they're basing it on the BMI. So if you're really muscly, you won't be able to get a house, basically, because...
What?
Here's why, Andrew.
No.
Yes, that's exactly right. Because they're rejecting insurance based on your BMI being too high. People like AIG are demanding a BMI of 39 is too high, or HSBC is saying you can't do it if it's 42. And so then that can affect your ability to get a mortgage because you can't get insurance. So they're essentially, they're saying people are too fat. And
Can you explain that, though? Why would someone who's too fat not be able to get life insurance? What's the logic
Because of the risk.
that?
Because of the increased risk of diabetes, blood pressure, cholesterol.
But body positivity experts say that there's no link between obesity and...
No, it's a backlash against that now, isn't it? The body positivity is over, I feel.
Cressida, but the thing about this, so I don't know about body mass index. Body mass index of 38. Who are we talking? Give me a name.
That's morbidly obese, isn't it? And you're saying over 40.
Is that Lizzo?
So,
no, that's not Lizzo. That's moderately too high.
Really? So Lizzo's okay?
Like 25.
No, Lizzo's more like she's way over 38 is what I'm saying.
Oh, so 38 is actually just slightly plump?
No, I think 38 is quite big, isn't it? You'd know somebody was like, you'd look at them and you'd think...
to check mine before I comment.
So,
no,
Cressida, is this fair?
Well, my first question is, I don't think you could build up a muscly BMI of 40. That seems...
You can build a 38. I mean, muscly people are always saying, look, my BMI is way off. Yeah, it's a very crude measurement. Very crude.
Why don't they come up with a better measurement then?
That's what they need to do.
Well, this is the thing, they could, but on average, it's still the case, isn't it, that if you have a BMI of 40, it gets up to a certain number and they say, well, now we're going to double your premium, which is already quite a big deal. And then, as you said, some of the companies, it goes over 40 and they just say, nah, we're not playing it.
But they don't need to have BMI. Can't they just send a photo to the insurance company? We all know when someone's fat.
Yeah, maybe they could. But I think the point is the same million people or a similar number might still not be able to get insurance.
OK, well, fair enough. We're going to move on now to this story, which is in Thursday's Guardian. Nick, students, are they still being annoying?
Is this about roads, I presume? This is because that's such a general question you've asked me.
They are quite annoying. No, but they were the students in Oxford were the ones trying to get the statue of Cecil Rhodes torn down.
Yeah, so it's Rhodes Scholarship Trust refuses to back calls to remove Oxford statue, and they basically they've sort of said that we won't do this, but in a kind of still a hand-wringing kind of apologetic way.
Why are they still talking about this?
They're still soul-searching, but they're actually not going to take the statue down.
But this debate was had years ago.
Well,
Why
exactly, Andrew, because someone's criticised it and said the soul-searching should have now moved on significantly. So it's the pace of soul-searching that we're concerned about. Yeah, I think at this point, just keep all statues up. Just because woke people want to take them down.
This is why I don't
and then talk about the statues. Dr. Elizabeth Kiss, the chief executive, she's spoken and said that they need to have a series of exhibitions designed to explore the legacy. Fine, put a plaque on it, talk about it.
Well, that's what they did. I was at Oriel College recently giving a talk, and I was gutted there were no protesters. I'm apparently not remotely controversial.
Oh, no!
So I was there, and I saw the Statue of Rhodes, and then there's now a plaque below it explaining about the legacy of colonialism, etc. And that seems to do the trick, doesn't it? So, I mean, and I thought the students... Well, what's interesting about this article, it talks about how the activists are basically saying... Because the organisation has described itself as being in listening mode, right? But when activists say you need to listen, what they mean is you need to agree. That's what they really mean, isn't it? So they're not going to let this go. But ultimately, I think it's good that the university is standing by and saying, no, you don't get to tear down historical monuments because you don't know much about history.
Absolutely. It's a step in the right direction, isn't it? It reminds me of when people have a fight in a relationship and they actually don't really want to forget about it. If you remember what somebody did, you can keep bringing it up. So...
And as we've discussed this many times on the show, but... Historical figures, ethical values tend to change over time. He would have had different values than we have today. Everyone agrees that slavery is abhorrent, and everyone agrees that people shouldn't be exploited. But it's not a statue that is saying, look how great slavery is. The statue is sort of marking an aspect of our history. And if we just delete all the negative aspects of our history, that's not really history.
Well, no, exactly. It won't be history, exactly.
Any final thoughts on that, Nick?
No, I think you've covered it so well. Although when you said that morals change over time, were you suggesting that slavery will be thought of as good again in the future?
No, I absolutely wasn't suggesting. Well, it could be, couldn't it? Who knows? But I'm hoping not. OK. Because I think we've all agreed now that it's a bad thing. OK, what about this one? The crushing disappointment of having daughters, Cressida.
Wow. Mothers negatively affected by having 3 daughters and no sons.
Is that right?
Isn't that a bizarre...
Who's studying this? Who invested money into this study?
Exactly. I had exactly this thought. Like, what of all the things you could study? What a fascinating thing to pick.
What did the scientists just think? Well, I know a few women with 3 daughters, and they all look really miserable.
The London School of Economics is the literal answer.
OK, but they're not even a medical kind of...
No, they're just getting involved. They just wanted to have a...
Is it more depressing to have 3 daughters?
Yes.
Well, apparently so. But I mean, I'm sure if you asked a mother with a new 3rd baby daughter in her arms, she'd just love it. But
well, at that moment, until it develops and becomes conniving and whatever else women... No, I'm not saying women do.
I get in such trouble, but Andrew just said something far worse.
So you think that's what it is? You think they've just got a house full of conniving, difficult women?
No, I think what it is
gets harder.
Do you know what? Women say to me that teenage girls together are a nightmare, right? And I say if that's true...
I'm going to help you out here, Andrew. It says it's possible this reflects not just an issue of children, but one of household composition, with the mother not wanting too many females in the household.
Oh, OK.
What you're saying is correct. Too much...
But what I will say, to give it some balance...
What's the word? Not endorphins. What's the word?
What?
The opposite of testosterone, that one.
Oestrogen.
Too much oestrogen in one household. That's what it's saying.
Why are you asking me about oestrogen? Because you think I've got too much of it?
Interesting piece of research that says that if there's abuse, child abuse, it is less likely to be reported by the same-sex parent. And the interpretation of this is that we see ourselves in same-sex family members and that we dislike ourselves.
Ah, that's interesting.
So I don't know if there's anything in that.
Can I just ask for balance? So, 3 sons is going to be a nightmare as well, isn't it?
Yeah, I was going to offer for balance. Sorry, I had me and one brother. My mum always said she wished she'd had daughters. She just openly would say that. That might reflect more on me.
That's specific. That's not about...
Is this really about King Lear? Insofar as the whole plot of King Lear revolves around the fact that Lear has 3 daughters and he divides his kingdom up between the 3, and the problems stem from that.
No, because he's a man, and this specifically
this is specifically about mothers.
That it's mothers, not fathers.
Oh, well, I try and bring a bit of literary quality to the show. I try and elevate
nothing
the tone.
Nothing was what we learned from that, which is a quote from Lear.
Very good. OK, that was very smart, Nick. We're going to move on now to The Telegraph. Should we start emulating China more, Nick?
Yeah, this is China to limit teenagers' smartphone use to 2 hours a day. Good old China. This is CAC, not an opinion. It's the Cyberspace Administration of China.
CAC.
Yeah, sometimes known as CAC. And
maybe it means something different in Chinese.
Yeah, but could do. I just made that bit up. But it is the Cyberspace Administration of China. They're well known, and they've got this so-called minor mode programs, Andrew. So if you're under 18, you can't go on the internet from 10 p.m. to 6 a.m. Or if you're under 8, you can only go on for 40 minutes a day. 16 to 17, you can go on for 2 hours. And if you're 8 to 16, you can go on for an hour.
That seems quite a good idea.
It's not bad. I mean, it's China. Look, they're not bad. I mean, look, it's draconian, but in the right direction, because everyone knows the internet's bad for children. And also, they don't want their culture to sort of morally and intellectually decline. So they've come up with this.
I don't think it's draconian if you're telling kids what to do. I've got no problem with interfering in children's lives.
Yes.
And this, to me, it sounds like the online safety bill, as it should be. Like, it's protecting the right people.
But, you know, we know now, though, don't we, that kids with smartphones is an absolute disaster. And, you know, I've spoken to Catherine Burblesing from Michaela School, and she has a policy. She's the headmistress of the school. She has the policy that there are no phones whatsoever in the school. Sometimes the kids even volunteer the phones because they want to have a digital detox, is what they call it. They lock the phones away for months in this cupboard, and they can't get them out again.
And the kids say that themselves?
Their kids want it because
my goodness,
because in this school
amazing.
they're disciplined, and the kids realise actually we're getting much better results and we're enjoying life much better. So it works. It just works. So, you know, surely we should be emulating them, not in a Chinese way, like not in an authoritarian way, but in a way
do the exact same thing.
Do the exact same thing, but call it something else.
Yeah.
Don't call it the Chinese phone system.
Or at least start talking about it, you know, like we are now. Because we don't talk about it, do we? We all go, do you have your phones in the bedroom at night?
It's a disaster if you do, apparently.
I do,
really
and
bad.
I'm trying to stop and finding it more difficult than I'd hoped.
Yes, it is difficult, and we're all addicted. I mean, this is the Republic, particularly with children, and when they're starting out in life, they're going to become... you know, you see them glued to these things. It's an absolute
horrible,
disaster.
And at least we all lived in a time before this was the norm.
We knew the before times.
We knew we did. We're a very special generation. We just remember these two things before and during the internet.
On the other hand, do you remember meeting up with people when we were 18?
Yeah, also, do you remember boredom? It was so boring then, wasn't it? Life was much better in every way, except it was boring. There'd be like nothing on the telly, like Ballykiss Angel was the only thing on telly. And you're like, what am I going to do?
We sound like three old, bitter
No, I'm saying it's great now,
husks.
because you never get bored now, which is kind of weird. You can't actually physically get bored now.
Well, you love Twitter more than the average person.
What are you saying?
Well, that's the other point about children being on smartphones, is a lot of bullying goes on cyberspace.
Yes,
and that's what
bullying
all the teachers say.
At all hours of the day.
It just seems like a no-brainer. Just don't let kids have phones at all.
It's funny when you said cyberspace. That's such a 90s word. You sound
since
like you're in the Lawnmower Man. It's such an old, like... I know it's the word in the article.
It says the word in the article.
It's like something Elon Musk would think is cool. You know, he's called it, like, X.
I never claimed to be...
Cyberspace.
Nick, I never claimed to be cool. That's not a claim I've ever made, because I know it's unsustainable.
But
so
should
I don't
these
need
kids be on cyberspace?
Cool, Andrew.
You think I'm cool? Yeah, but you live on a boat.
This is a talking point from, like, 1998. Should these kids be on cyberspace?
No.
Is virtual reality going to take over the world? And is The Lawnmower Man a good film? And why have only you and I, Nick, seen that film?
Great question.
It's a really good film. You should check it out. OK, right. We're going to take a break now. See you after, though, for the worst/best 100-metre race you'll ever see. Nazi raccoons, and why Nick has been furiously practicing the card game Uno all day. See you in a moment.
Monday to Thursday nights on GB News. At 6, it's Dubes & Co. 7 o'clock, Farage. At 8, join Jacob Rees-Mogg. And at 9, Dan Wootton Tonight, followed by headliners on TV, radio and online. This is GB News.
Now then, Lee Anderson here. Join me on GB News on my show, The Real World, every Friday at 7 p.m.
I'm not eating bloody cat. Are you
Delicious.
mental?
Open your mouth. OK, here comes a train.
Reminds me of the scene in Singing in the Rain.
Adam, is that a good one?
Whoa! Join me at 7 on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Camilla Tominey, on Sunday mornings from 9:30, taking the politicians to task and breaking out of SW1 to see how their decisions are affecting you across the UK. Bursting the Westminster bubble every Sunday morning, only on GB News, the People's Channel. Britain's watching.
Join us every night on GB News at 11 p.m. for Headliners, which is 3 top comedians going through the next day's news stories, which is exactly what you need, because when the establishment has gone crazy, you need some craziness to make sense of it. So join us 11 p.m. every night on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
I'm Andrew Doyle. Join me at 7 o'clock every Sunday night for Free Speech Nation, the show where I tackle the week's biggest stories in politics and current affairs with the help of my 2 comedian panellists and a variety of special guests.
Free Speech Nation, Sunday nights from 7 on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel. Every Sunday from 11, join Michael Portillo.
There will be topical discussion, looking at the week before and the week to come. So kick back and relax at 11 a.m. on Sundays on GB News with me, Michael Portillo. GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
I joined GB News because I was sick and tired of not hearing my views being represented, not just mine, but so many people that I knew and spoke to.
I just couldn't get my voice out there. I couldn't say anything. I couldn't do anything. Whatever the narrative was, I kind of had to follow it.
GB News is there to provide a voice for those who have been ignored by the establishment media. We think different things, we've got a different style.
GB News is here to be optimistic and positive about the future.
It's real kind of dynamic and flowing, with the audience very much at the heart of it, like a big family.
Here at GB News, we talk about the things that matter to you.
Hearing the voices from right across our towns and cities, especially our towns.
All sides of the argument represented with a heavy dose of opinion.
We're on a mission here to make a difference.
And the GB News family really is here for you, and whatever time of day you can watch or listen.
Britain's watching.
Britain's watching.
We're proud to be GB News,
the People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
Welcome back to Headliners, your first look at Thursday's newspapers. We're going to start this section with the Daily Mail and perhaps the worst 100-metre runner of all time. Let's take a look.
在 U20 亚锦赛上也拿到过奖牌，我们来看看这一枪的表现。好的，选手出发，齐尔瓦莫朗现在的领先还是比较有优势的，石川优在这个阶段逐渐开始掉队了。齐尔瓦莫朗处在第1位，率先撞线，全力的去冲啊！这一枪11秒58，到最后似乎想收着劲儿跑，但是已经收不住。
So God bless her for trying, but what's going on there?
That's awful. I'm having PTSD from school sports day. Somalian runner clocks slowest ever 100-metre time as she finishes 10 seconds behind other athletes at the World University Games in China. And by the way, that 10 seconds, that means she was twice as long because the person that won it was about 10 seconds.
So, but how did she get a place on that?
Well, apparently she's the niece of the Somali athletics vice president. So people are saying it's nepotism. Is that nepotism or is that just revenge for something?
Well, no,
That's so mean.
Well, it depends. Like, it depends whether she's humiliated. Although looking at that video, it looks like she's having quite a good time.
Do you think? I think she's styling it out. I think she's mortified.
Do you think?
I'm projecting, of course. What do you think,
Nick?
Well, we learn a couple of things. One, that the sort of British sense of fair play is not a universal value because you just get your niece in apparently Somalia. And people are saying, well, this is not a way to represent Somalia, but in a way, it has represented their utter corruption, if that's what they're doing, right? If you're bringing in your niece, it has represented that quite well.
Or is it quite a sweet gesture? You know, maybe she's always dreamed.
Yeah, she's intended as that, but it's not panned out quite that way.
She's always wanted to run in international competitive sports, and she gets the job, you know?
She hasn't done the prep. They're all of a very similar body type for that sport.
Yes.
She doesn't look
How can you not see that playing out, though? So you must either hate your niece or you're extraordinarily naive. Just think she'll probably have a decent stab.
I think it's the latter. I think it's like that film Bullets Over Broadway, you know, when the guy who's funding the play gets his awful niece to play a major role and she can't act. Right. You know, I think it's a bit like that. I think it's just a well-intentioned thing that went a bit wrong. And, you know, I think she enjoyed it.
That's another film people should watch. It's the Woody Allen film starring John Cusack, but people don't watch Bullets Over Broadway.
They don't have our taste in films, Nick. That's the thing. Lawnmower Man, Bullets Over Broadway, Leprechaun 2.
I'm writing all of this down.
Yeah,
not that one.
Not that one. OK, fine. OK, next up in the Times, this is something that keeps me up at night. Nazi raccoons. Nick.
Yeah, this might be the best headline we've ever done, actually. Nazi raccoons threaten to overrun Belgium. I mean, it's hard to improve upon that, really, isn't it? I don't know what I can do with that as a comic.
This is in the Times, right? So it's a reputable paper.
Yeah.
It's not the front cover of the Daily Star.
I thought that was a typo.
But it's Belgium is fighting an invasion of raccoons by trapping them, castrating and sterilising them.
Ooh, it's quite a dark story.
I know, but that's apparently the more humane way, because the other option is killing them.
Do they only do that with the Nazi raccoons and not with the more sort of tolerant, inclusive
They interrogate
raccoon?
them first,
Oh,
obviously.
yeah.
Are you a Nazi? No.
No.
We'll just sterilise you.
Do you work for a bank?
Castrate you, or you yes, and then they kill.
Clarify this for me, Nick. What is a Nazi raccoon?
Well, you see, Andrew, the rumour was they were released into the wild in Germany under the Nazis and started appearing in Belgium in the 1980s. Now, some people said it was on the personal orders of Hermann Goering, who wanted them to enrich the local fauna for hunters. But that's been debunked, and apparently it was in 1934 as a result of a couple of people who were breeding them.
So this is quite a misleading headline, Cressida, because, you know, the raccoons themselves do not have white supremacist values.
Absolutely not.
What is going on is that they were released into the wild at the time of the Nazis, and now we call them Nazi raccoons. That strikes me as very unfair.
That's exactly what's happened. And this is why you shouldn't interfere with nature, isn't it? As soon as you interfere and you introduce something that shouldn't be there, you don't know whether it's going to do really well, like the grey squirrels.
Yes.
And take over. So now they're a problem.
You see, I would say the grey squirrels are Nazis because they came over here and took over and wiped out the red squirrels, didn't they?
Yes.
Well,
So I think they are ethnic cleansing
OK, well, now
monsters.
maybe there is a touch of Nazi about them then.
But these raccoons have done nothing wrong.
No, but
these raccoons are charming and agile, and they're clever and nocturnal, basically like me.
But they're a
Exactly
threat
like you,
to
Nick.
other local species, aren't they? This is what happens as soon as you mess about.
Yeah, though they can
Yeah,
transmit...
don't play God.
They can transmit rabies, which I don't do.
Oh, that's not very good. That's not very good. OK, what about this one in The Independent? Something I've long suspected. Babies have exquisite taste.
Babies as young as 4 months have taste in fine art, research finds. So they've shown some babies some fine art, and the babies have they've focused on the pictures longer that adults prefer.
Yes.
So it looks like the baby's taste is similar to a grown-up's taste. So it turns out I don't find that surprising, really, because we're all humans, aren't we?
Yeah, but you can't show a baby like Raphael's Transfiguration and expect it to come up with a serious critique.
No, it's not a serious critique, but does it?
Well, they look at it for longer.
They like it more than they
give
would
it-
say a Tracy Emin.
Oh,
thing.
yes, I don't think they'd like an unmade bed. I don't think that would... no, they go for specific... They like edges, apparently, which is
Edges and colours.
bizarre.
Edges
like
and colours they love.
boundaries.
OK.
But see, I've always thought this as well, that beauty is inherent. I've always suspected this. You know, there's this idea now, everything's relative, beauty's not inherent. That is nonsense. That's leftist nonsense. And babies here are proving it. They come out of the womb appreciating art immediately.
Yeah.
OK. Well, fascinating stuff. Maybe we will see some baby art critics. Can't do any worse
Baby
than...
art is rubbish, isn't it? The work they do themselves.
Well, a lot of modern art is rubbish, so may as well get the babies to judge it. OK. I'm not really sure how to introduce this one, so I'm going to leave this to you, Nick.
Oh, is this the goat one, then?
Yeah.
This is Jacob Heatley Johnson admits having sex with a goat.
Who is this guy?
I love the way they've named him as if he's, like, well-established.
Yeah, well, he is now.
A well-established art critic.
We'll all be talking about him now, won't we?
Not a baby, yeah. And they've given his full name. He's sort of the goat of having sex with goats, if you like, if you want to go there.
That's clever.
See what I did?
That was smart.
And basically, he took this goat and took it to a bathroom, and unspeakable things ensued. Then there was a further offence committed, which left the goat's owner distressed, although it doesn't mention the goat, who's presumably even more distressed.
I'm quite distressed.
I imagine. I was distressed.
I'm distressed just hearing about
My
this.
dad came to visit me yesterday, and he said he was really proud of me because having this job on GB News.
Yes.
And Dad, I hope you're watching as we do this.
Well, when we do this story. I went to see a play by Edward Albee called The Goat many years ago, which is about a man having a sexual affair with a goat, and his wife finds out. And Jonathan Pryce was playing the lead role. But I'd gone to a matinee show, and it was all elderly people there who thought they were going along to see, like, a Gilbert and Sullivan or something. And there was a lot of agitation, I shall say.
A lot of stress.
Yeah. OK, well, we've just got time for this last one. This one about sleeping at night, Cressida.
Turns out, yes, you should.
You should sleep at night.
Why you should sleep at the same time every night, according to science.
Wow.
These stories come up every now and again, don't they? It's people who can sleep tormenting people like me that don't sleep, telling us we're wrong and we should sleep more, which doesn't help us sleep.
So basically you should sleep the same time every night because it's bad for your health. Nick, I'm a bit fed up with these health scares coming out. Just sleep when you want to sleep, right?
Sick of it, mate. Also, it's very hard to do this with headliners. I get in at 1 a.m. Right. You've either got to go to bed at like 1, 2 a.m. every night, or what do you do? We should be compensated more, is what I'm saying, Annie, because actually it's damaging our health.
Well, this article feels like it's having a go at us or telling us that we are doomed, that we're going to have a shorter life because we do this job.
This is what we keep hearing. It's our current generation's smoking, isn't it? You know, even doctors were tired.
I think just sleep when you want to sleep and, you know, be done with it. OK, the show's nearly over.
Opinion.
We're going to take another quick look, though, at Thursday's front pages. So the Daily Mail is running with Green power firm taking us for fools. The Telegraph has Minister faces police inquiry over racist leaflet. The Times is leading with Get on your delivery bike, Minister tells the over 50s. The Guardian runs with Trump court date sets US on course for election clash. And the Daily Mail has Rishi, NHS strikes are to blame for waiting lists, and the Daily Star has their usual alien scare story. The proof is out there. Those were your front pages. Now, that is, unfortunately, all that we've got time for. I'd like to thank my two panellists, Cressida Wetton and Nick Dixon. Tomorrow night, Leo Kearse will be in this chair. He'll be here with Jonathan Cogan and Lewis Schaefer. Lord help us. And if you're watching the 5 a.m. repeat at the moment, please do stay tuned, because it'll be time for breakfast.
The temperature's rising. Boxed Solar, proud sponsors of weather on GB News.
Hello there, and welcome to your latest GB News weather forecast. I'm Greg Dewhurst. Well, it stays unsettled over the next few days, though there will be increasing amounts of sunny spells around on Thursday. It'll just feel a little warmer. Today's low pressure moves out the way. We're in a northerly airstream the next few days, but then the next area of low pressure soon moving in Friday night and into Saturday to give some wet and windy weather again for all of us. This evening, as I mentioned, today's low pulling away, so the rain's starting to become lighter, few and further between, but overnight it stays generally quite cloudy. Further showers moving in across northern Scotland into Northern Ireland, and temperatures generally staying in double figures across the board due to that northerly wind and a lot of cloud around. So fairly cloudy start to Thursday morning, but there will be some sunny spells, particularly through the central part of the UK. And through the day, this northerly flow will start to feed showers in, and at the same time we'll see some showers bubble up as we move into the afternoon. There will be some bright or sunny spells, and some places, particularly in the east, will stay dry right through the day, and as a result it will just feel a little warmer, temperatures up to around 23 degrees towards the southeast, a little bit cooler around some north-facing coasts. Into Friday itself, generally again a cloudy start, though showers perhaps more focused through the day across eastern areas. A ridge of high pressure building in for a short time will mean drier weather to the west, and here some sunny spells developing. Temperatures again lifting into the low 20s before wet and windy weather moves in for Saturday, then clears for Sunday. Temperatures around average.
The temperature's rising. Boxed Solar, proud sponsors of weather on GB News.
What you get for breakfast is something that, if we do our jobs right, you will wake up to news that you didn't know the night before.